Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Kellam, and I'll be your host on Encounter today. Every once in a while, as a retired minister, I'm invited to go into a church and be the pulpit supply, we call them. And often these are small, struggling churches that spend a lot of their conversational time looking back at what they used to be. And now there's just a handful of people perhaps coming in on a Sunday morning and occupying a sanctuary that once held maybe 50 or 100 or 150. Little choir still struggling to sing with a limited number of voices. And on the way to these churches, I've driven by other churches that have a full parking lot, and I know that they have a full slate of activities. There are lots of children there, and there are Christian education classes and full-time pastoral ministry to offer pastoral support. And I think to myself, why don't these churches get together? If this small group of people walked across the street in spite of a few theological differences, wouldn't their voices add to the choir of the other church, and wouldn't their children enrich through youthful enthusiasm and vibrancy and creativity? Wouldn't they be enriched by the children of the other church? And why don't these churches get together? Well, there are lots of reasons they don't, but there are lots of churches that are coming together now, sometimes because the hierarchy of the church has placed them together, and sometimes because someone had the idea that they might be strengthened by sharing their strengths together. Well, my guest today is the Reverend Dr. Gregory Johnson. He is the pastor of the Cornerstone Community Church in Endicott at the corner of Lincoln Avenue and East Main Street, right there in the village heart, the municipal heart, not far from the fire station, the police station, Union Endicott High School.
Yeah.
And that church is the result of a merger.
Yes.
And as a result of, well, maybe I'll let you tell the story. You came to Binghamton as the pastor of the Beautiful Plain Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. Tell me how that moved you then to become the pastor of the Cornerstone Community Church.
Good morning. Thanks, Jeff. I was, like you said, called to pastor Beautiful Plain Baptist Church, 2005, August of 2005. You'll never forget your call. And so the church was very active in outreach ministry. And when I was called to Beautiful Plain, the church had been in a building campaign. They had started that prior to my call, and so the church had grown and they were looking for a new facility or the possibility of building a new facility. Unfortunately, around 2005, the real estate market crashed. Financial institutions weren't lending money as freely as they were, and so we had capital built up, but not enough to go out and say we want to build a $2 million edifice that
Right.
will accommodate us. And so we began to wrestle with that. How do we continue to do ministry in this context? Because the congregation had outgrown the church. We were doing about almost 200 children for VBS during the summer.
Vacation Bible School.
Yeah, that in and of itself caused us to think, wow, revivals, the church was busting at the seams. So the capacity, the church had outgrown the building. And so I had stumbled upon a pastor at Lincoln Avenue, Bill Turner, and Bill and I had a conversation about simply doing ministry together. He had a huge facility, not a whole lot of people, and he wanted to be involved in doing ministry. I said, Bill, I need to find somewhere where we can do this ministry because it's tight. It's really tight. And so
now Lincoln Avenue was in Endicott.
Yes.
At your present site.
Yes. And so we began that conversation, and then we started doing ministry together, first beginning with Vacation Bible School in the summers, which was good because we had the space, and we continued to have what we had to do was really bus the children that we had been ministering to for over the few years. Then they had to be bused
from Binghamton to Endicott.
But having that conversation, I said, well, instead of us trying to find a place to build a new building or buy a new building, this is a prime opportunity to talk about how can we not only do ministry together as separate churches, but how can we work together and come together. And so in 2010, we began that conversation with both churches, talking about how we can come together and working out our theological differences and working out where we'll be, what will this new church look like.
But you're both Baptist churches. What possible theological differences could there be?
Well, Beautiful Plain Baptist Church is an American Baptist affiliated as well as National Baptist. It's a predominantly African American church.
Yeah.
Lincoln Avenue is a corporate Baptist church affiliated with Southern Baptist Conference. The two have very different, even though they're Baptist, the denominations have very different perspectives, theological perspectives. Just for instance, it is changing in the Southern Baptist, but the Southern Baptist Convention did not ordain women into ministry. Whereas if you articulate a call in the American Baptist denomination, then there was an avenue for ordination for women just like for men.
Yeah, and that's a pretty important theological distinction.
It is.
So you were seeing an opportunity, a call, as it were. God was opening a door here for a conversation, at least. Did you have training and background already that was preparing you for this kind of merger? I might mention that you've written a book as a result of the study, Merging with Grace, A Healthy Transformation. The book is about church mergers and merging with grace. Did the book come after your experience with the two churches?
The book came after, and it is an outgrowth of the experience that the journey that we took with both of those churches coming together. No, I did not have training merging congregations, and I looked for material that would help us do this work that we had already started. There was material about studies that talked about how churches should look at thinking about the merging process, but there was no material at the time that helped churches walk through this process, what to expect and how to do it gracefully. That wasn't there. I had at the time entered into a doctoral program with my thoughts in a whole different direction, Jeff. I am a student of Howard Thurman and the disciplines of the heart. And so I thought going into this doctoral study how I could utilize that in pastoral leadership. And so I said, well, okay, I'll work out the kinks once I get there. But this opportunity of working with both the churches and trying to get these churches together. I have a background in engineering, so the technical stuff, looking at facilities, looking at ministry, looking at the components, those pieces I had no problems with. We were able to bring on an attorney who was very skilled at congregations that wanted to merge and looking at our assets. I talked to our denomination. So the component pieces, those are the pieces that you find challenging if you don't know how to bring a corporation together.
Yes.
But I we did that well. We set up teams, we set up groups, we looked at our finances, we looked at our ministries, we compiled all of that reporting information, and we got all that stuff together, and we got that to the attorney, and that phase went well. The legal process went off without a hitch. Unfortunately, there's a whole lot more to it than that. And so in that process, I realized that there were things happening in the body that neither Bill or I was equipped to deal with. And so.
Because you're dealing with histories, both churches have a history. You're dealing with folks who have worshiped in different styles. You're dealing with not only the church's history, but the history of people's families within those churches. And that brings me to the part of the thing that you're dealing with in your book, Merging with Grace, is family systems. Now, family system studies in seminaries, I think, are pretty common these days, but it predates, my seminary education predates family systems. So maybe if you could share a little bit about family systems and why that enters into conversations about mergers, not only in churches, but I would think mergers in businesses and mergers within families and marriage.
Rabbi Edward Freeman utilized Dr. Mary Bowen's family systems theory and brought that into the life of the congregation. Because what Freeman saw was that in this body of people, there are elements, just the same types of elements that are in a family, a biological family, that are functioning in this particular organization, whether it's a church, whether it's a corporation, whatever it is. These concepts that Murray Bowen outlined in counseling families through family systems, Edward Freeman saw this. Not only did Freeman see this, but our modern day congregational guru, Peter Stinke, congregational specialist, works with congregations using family systems. And the key concept in understanding how this system works is the emotional process that people bring to this organization or body. Just like you said, the congregations come together, people have ties to one congregation, and they're strong ties, especially if they've been there a long time. And even if they haven't been there a long time, they've developed emotional ties. And so these emotional ties influence how we respond and we react to things that are happening that change our common day life. And so using that theory helped me because as a leader, I needed to understand how to, one, deal with the congregation that's going through change and resistant to change, not because they're just resisting change for the purpose of resisting it, but it is really attacking their emotional system that has been anchored to this place, that has these memories that they have been so connected to, whether it's the building, the style of worship, the ministry, the way they did it. All of that is being, for them, I'll use the word assaulted.
Well, and you also use the word death. This is putting, that's maybe a little bit too strong to say, it's putting to death the previous experience and so on, but you come to a stopping point and end before you can move on into the future.
And it's a grieving process because they're losing. They're losing. It's a loss. When change happens, we grieve change. Whether it's you're getting older, we grieve change, and so this type of change is a momentous change, especially when your religious practice